Hey kids, it's the Missing Fly here, hope you're well. Now, it's the last Wednesday of the month, which means it's time for me to do my monthly news review, a look back at what's been in the motorcycling press for the month of November 2017. Grab yourself a brew, this could be a long one. Okay, so before we get it started on the news review proper, just a bit of housekeeping for you. First of all, thanks very much to everybody that gave me some questions last week. I put a little quick shout out video out for some questions for a Q&A session that I was doing. I was overwhelmed with questions. Thank you for sending those. Sorry I didn't get to answer every comment that was posted there. But the reason why I did that is because I did a very special Q&A on Sunday over at Del Boy's Garage, which is what this video here is. Del Boy, I don't know if you've watched his channel at all, but it's an amazing channel. Check it out. I've learned so much from Del, it's incredible, and it was an absolute pleasure to go over to his garage on Sunday and record this Q&A session for you. So you've got a long evening ahead. Once you've watched this video, head over to Moonfleet41, which is what he calls his channel, or just Google Del Boy's Garage. I'll put a link below as well after this video, and go and check out this Q&A that we did. It's 55 minutes long, as I say, so long evening ahead of YouTube viewing for you, but we had a right laugh. It was great fun, so do go and watch that after you've watched this video. So that's that. Let me just pause that. Okay, so to the papers then. I've got a little admission to make to you, and that is I've got 4 copies here because that's what has come out through November so far. Today, of course, is the 29th, and there should be another issue due through the letterbox today. Well, the postman's just come. It's lunchtime now. Sadly, that edition didn't come through, so I'll have to cover that off in the next news review. But I've still got 4 papers to go through, so plenty of stuff going on in the biking world. So let's get cracking. Right, so to the first set of stories then. This is from the November the 1st paper. Okay, the first thing that leapt out at me here is this story, Going Commando it's called, and it's the fact that Norton have announced some new Commandos to celebrate their 50th anniversary of the original Commando coming out. So absolutely beautiful looking bikes. I think they're going to be £16,500 when they come out, so certainly a premium machine, but they look lovely. They're primarily aimed, I think, at the US market. One of the models, they're bringing out 3 models, I think. One's called the California, and I had a look at these at Motorcycle Live last week, or at least one of them, and they do look absolutely stunning in the flesh. Beautiful bikes. I love the whole idea of the Norton brand. One day I hope to ride one. I never have, but perhaps in the future, who knows. But anyway, there we are. More Nortons coming, which has got to be great news. And it's interesting reading the article, actually. It says that they, in fact, export 80% of their models to the US, so incredible. So, you know, all power to Norton's elbow. Let's hope they go from strength to strength and we start to see some of these out there in the world. I'm not sure I've actually ever seen one on the road, but it'd be great if Norton can kind of copy what Triumph have done to some degree. Okay, the second thing, after I've had a swig of my tea, that I want to just point out here is this little story, the most important motorcycle ever, question mark. And this is the story that Honda have brought out a couple of electric-ish scooters. Now, I'm a recent scooter convert. I'd never ridden a scooter until this year, and then I rode a couple of the Yamaha ones, and kind of the penny dropped at how practical they are as a form of transport. Well, now Honda have brought out 2 models. One's a hybrid, one is just an electric model. And the reason I mention this is occasionally we talk about electric bikes, and I get mixed kind of feedback about whether people are enthusiastic about electric bikes or not. I personally am quite enthusiastic, and I'm doubly so now about the hybrid because a little bit because I'm biased, because I recently actually bought myself a hybrid car. I never thought I'd do that, but I have done, and it's an amazing vehicle. I'm now a complete hybrid convert. I have to say it's not a Prius, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that in. But now this, with bikes coming out in hybrid form as well, very keen to give that a try, and MCN are saying that could be, as I say, the most important motorcycle. One of the things about the all-electric one, by the way, is they have these battery packs, so you don't have to wait around for them to charge. You just swap out the batteries when you've run out of power, which I think is a great idea. And whilst we're on the electric theme, I'm actually going to ride my first electric bike next week. I've got that scheduled to do, so you won't actually see that video probably until next month, but hopefully, if all things go well and the weather plays ball, I'll be riding my first electric bike next week, so stick around and stay tuned for the review of that. That's going to be interesting. So yeah, great to see stuff coming along there. I know there's mixed views on electric bikes, but hey ho, I'm all for trying something new. Right, next story that came out here we are, Best of British. This is an item all about the new museum at Triumph. It's a new visitor centre that they've opened up at the Hinckley factory. I've been very lucky indeed in that I've had a sneak preview of this and went along on the sort of launch day. And I had a look around the museum already. It's an absolutely fascinating place. There's a cafe there as well and a shop. And if you're in the Hinckley area, travelling up that way, it's well worth popping in. And the reason why I say it's worth popping in is because it's free of charge. How good is that? I spoke to some of the Triumph marketing guys about why they're doing this, and it's just really that they, you know, a lot of the guys that work at Triumph are enthusiasts as well. In fact, I think probably everyone I spoke to there seemed really, really enthusiastic about the brand. It does you your heart good to go there and speak to those guys, because they love these bikes as much as we do. And this visitor centre is just them giving something back to us, their fans. So so fantastic. So if you're in that area, do drop by. Great cafe, check it out. Some amazing bikes there, including things like the original bike that Steve McQueen used to, well, it wasn't him, but it looked like him in the Great Escape, and all sorts of iconic machines from the Triumph history there. So if you do get the chance, do pop along there. If you want to do a factory tour as well, you can do that, but they cost, and you have to go to the website to book those in advance. But if you just want to go to the museum, the visitor centre, you know, you can do that for free. So thank you, Triumph, for that. What a great, what is there for free these days? It's just fantastic, isn't it? Okay, and then last in this first paper that I just want to point out, Join the Cub is the title. And it's really just a mention about the Honda Cub, the venerable Honda Cub. They've now sold 100 million of these Super Cubs. Absolutely incredible. I think I read somewhere, I'm not sure it was in this article, but it's the most produced vehicle, and therefore the most successful vehicle ever produced now, the Honda Cub. 100 million of them produced, and they're still making them today. In fact, I saw the new version at Motorcycle Live last week, and it looked absolutely lovely. It looks amazing. So incredible. That's another bike that I quite like to have in the garage as much as anything, just because of its iconic status. But I can't get my head around that. 100 million of those made. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so that was the first paper. Next up is this one. I've got actually got 5 items in here that I wanted to cover. So in a way, it's quite good I haven't received this week's paper yet, because there's a lot to get through here. So lots of new models being announced, of course, in readiness for the shows, because it's show season. And as I've mentioned already a couple of times, it was the NEC last week. First one I've pulled out here is the Scrambler 1100. Ducati really are, you know, going, you know, full on developing the Scrambler range. They've kind of developed this whole ecosystem around it, haven't they? A whole sort of image thing that goes with it. I must admit, I do like the look of these 1100 Scramblers. When I rode the original Scrambler yonks ago, whenever it came out, it must be 2 or 3 years ago now, I wasn't that impressed by it. I thought the mix of retro and modern didn't quite work, but I have to say I'm sort of warming to them, with things like the Desert Sled that came out last year, which looked amazing, and now this Scrambler Sport. Looks absolutely gorgeous in the grey paintwork. I might have to give these a little revisit and see if the bigger engine ones changed my mind. Not that the smaller engine ones didn't have enough power; they were pretty powerful. But you know, I need to, I think, maybe have another revisit on the Scrambler range, because clearly Ducati think that's where it's at. Next bike that wanted to pull out is this incredible Kawasaki H2 SX SE. So this is a touring bike based on the supercharged H2 that came out last year or the year before, can't remember, but it caused a great stir when it did because of its massive power. Now the H2 is something like £25,000, so the trick with this one is getting the pricing right, because of course that is way out of most people's league, but it just looks amazing. Again, saw it at the NEC last week, looks great in the flesh, and a beautiful bike, 207 brake horsepower, and I'll talk a bit more about that later on in the review. So that's a lovely looking machine. Now I've got access to Kawasaki's thanks to my friends down at Blade Motorcycles in Abingdon. I'm hoping in the future I might get to have a ride on that, but I think you're going to have to be pretty lucky to get a test ride, so we'll see on that. But fingers crossed, the request is in there. So that was that. Next story I've pulled out here, new Honda Africa Twin. Actually, that's a nice picture of it, but that's not the reason why I brought this page up. It's because of these new CBR models that Honda have brought out, a new 125, a 300 and a 1000. These, the 1000 being basically a naked fireblade, which would be an amazing bike to have a ride on. I just think that these look incredible. I mean, the 125 is an absolute looker. That's got to be the best looking 125 on the market, I think now, the CB125R. So hopefully I can get a ride on that at some point when they're available. Then there's the 300, which might just be the perfect commuting bike, and then the 1000, which is just going to be a bit of an animal. So really excited to see those. Naked bikes are where it's at as far as I'm concerned. So well done Honda for bringing those out. They look great. Okay, next one here. Oh, the all-new Duke. This is the Duke 790, the twin engine version. I love the 690, the single, which is still going strong, of course. But this one sort of builds on that 790 Duke, maybe a bit more of a manageable version of sort of the Super Duke, perhaps. Again, really looking forward. I'm hoping to get a go on this at some point. So, yeah, that looks an absolutely lovely bike. And again, I think I saw this in the flesh, got some footage of it. Looks beautiful, got the lights on the front that I like. And I think it's going to be a really exciting addition to the range. So, well done KTM on that. And the last issue or article I've got in here, nothing to do with any specific bike, but just something I take a bit of issue with. They have this expert opinion or guide thing at the end of MCN each month. And in this issue, it's talking about keyless ignition. And you may or may not like keyless ignition. I I initially didn't like it. I didn't think there was a reason to have it really. I thought it was a problem that didn't exist, or a solution to a problem that didn't exist. But actually, having ridden the KTM Super Adventure that had it, I grew to love it, and it was brilliant on that bike, and I really liked it. But what I take issue with on this article is that it says that it can be a deterrent to thieves, and bike theft is a big issue, as we know, particularly in the UK and particularly in London at the moment. It says here, if you're a bike thief trying to hotwire a bike, there's nothing there. They're actually less vulnerable to theft than conventional keys. I take a bit of issue with that on the basis of when I got an insurance quote for the Super Adventure, it came back with a massive quote. It's something like £750 or something, and I've got full no claim. So it seemed a very huge insurance quote. So when I went back to the insurance company and said, why is it so expensive? They said one of the reasons could be because it had keyless ignition. And they found that the underwriters are basically marking up bikes that have keyless ignition. So if you're tempted to go down the route of getting a bike with that, do just check out, get an insurance quote first and see what difference that makes. It might just be a one-off, might be an oddity, I may be completely wrong, but in my research, if you have keyless ignition, you could be looking at big insurance hikes. So just be aware of that one. Okay, so that's it for that issue. Next up, third copy, and this was a big fat issue because this was the week of Motorcycle Live, and MCN always do a big guide for the show, which I took along with me when I went. It's a great guide. I've taken it out of here. There's not a lot of point, I think, going through that now because the show is done and dusted, of course. But so this was a really fat issue, but it's a lot thinner now. I've taken that middle bit out. So the first story here, going to be a bit of a surprise to me. Can't remember what this was. Ah, yes, of course. Marquez has won the MotoGP World Championship again. Absolutely incredible. Guy's amazing talent. I don't follow MotoGP as close as I used to anymore, so not really much to say about MotoGP itself other than well done Marquez. But really, it was just to look at this picture. I mean, he so nearly came off. His elbow touched the deck, and he got a serious wobble on a corner, went into the gravel trap, managed to save it, and then went on to win the World Championship. Absolutely amazing. What a ballsy ride. Incredible. So I just thought you might like to see that picture if you hadn't already seen it. Oh, second item in here. Look at these. We talked about Norton earlier. Norton's new 650. And this is an artist's rendition, a Norton one, of what a new bike that they want to bring out might look like. They came out with, I think, 3 versions of this. A couple of Scramblers and a sort of a cafe racer type version. And this is a bike that they're thinking of making if it's popular enough. And I wholeheartedly encourage them to do so, because this just looks amazing. It's basically got the engine in it is half of the engine from their big V4. So it's a twin engine. It's not the same as the twin that they're producing for the Middle East market, where they've got a joint venture going on. It's a whole new engine, but it just doesn't that bike look amazing? And they're saying that it's going to be priced around the 10 grand bracket, which to me is still a little bit too expensive for just a toy. But nonetheless, it looks lovely, and I can't wait to see that bike, you know, in the flesh, presuming they make it, because, you know, that would just be amazing. So lovely looking bike there. And then another new bike, just to mention, or a couple of new bikes. It says Brits Abroad, because of course this isn't a British bike at all. These are the new Royal Enfields that have been announced, the 650 twins. So Royal Enfield have decided to sort of up the game a bit with the power on their bikes, and have come out with these two new models. One's called the Interceptor, which I just think is a fantastic name. That's the orange one here, the Interceptor. They're not massively powerful, 47 brake horsepower at 7,100, and they've got quite low seats, so they're very manageable bikes, but they just look beautiful. Don't they? Look like a proper British bike. Okay, I know they're made in India now, they're no longer a British bike, but they look lovely, and I again saw these last week at the NEC. They look beautiful in the flesh. Really can't wait to have a go on these. I'm going to have to tap up my friends at the local Royal Enfield dealer, because if I can get a go on one of these, that would just be awesome. I'm a huge fan of Royal Enfields, as you may know if you've seen some of my review videos, and these two I just think look like proper motorbikes. So well done Royal Enfield, more of that. And the beauty of these, of course, is that Royal Enfield make them at realistic prices. So I think the Interceptor is going to be around about £6,000, and available I think in the spring of 2018 according to the article. So roll on spring, can't wait to have a go on those. So thank you Royal Enfield for that. Oh, this item in here in MCN, Ultimate Adventures they've called it, and the reason I've highlighted this is because they've done a comparison of the Ducati Multistrada Enduro, the KTM 1290 Super Adventure R, and the BMW GSA. I recently did a video comparing the GSA against the 1290, so I think it's quite fun that BMW have done the same thing. I didn't do the Ducati, although I have got one of the videos that's coming up is the Ducati 950. I had a long termer with that. Stay around to the end of the video. I'm going to give you a bit of a preview of what's coming up over the next month on the channel. But anyway, the whole idea of raising this is that they've done this review, similar sort of review as I did, and the great news is they basically came to the same conclusion, I'm glad to say, in that the GSA is still the bike to have. These bikes have been jostling for position for supremacy for a while now, and I concluded on my review that I thought the GSA just had it, because for me it was a more rounded bike. Okay, it hasn't got the amazing engine in terms of power that the 1290's got, but when you look at everything in the round, like comfort, gadgetry, load lugging ability, etc, etc, the GSA for me is still the king of the pile, and I'm glad to say MCN agree with me on that. So well worth reading that article if you're in the big adventure bike market. Okay, coming up to the last paper now, and just 3 to pull out here. How are we doing for time? Let me just check. Ooh, looks like we were going to be doing about 20 minutes. Okay, which sounds fine. So this first article, top road racers will be there. It'll be fantastic. This is referring to the new, it's called, well, they're calling it the Welsh TT, but actually it's officially known as the Welsh Road Race, I think probably for some copyright reasons or something like that. But this is a brand new race that's going to be held this year in the Brecon Beacons. The law has changed in the UK in that we can now have road races. It only changed a couple of years ago to allow that. Some enterprising chap, who actually I did meet last week at the NEC, sadly I can't remember his name, sorry. He's set this up in the Brecon Beacons, as I say. It's going to be in August next year. If you've never been to a road race before, if you haven't been to the Isle of Man TT, this is going to be spectacular, I think. Can't wait to go. It's already in my diary. It's the 4th and 5th of August. Going to get along there and watch this. It just sounds amazing. Bikes should be doing, 200 miles an hour around this course that they've identified. It looks brilliant. I think it's 5.5 miles, something like that around. So it's not, or 5 miles. So it's not the size of the Isle of Man TT. And of course, it's going to take a while for the thing to get some momentum. But I think this year is the year to go, because presumably it's going to get busy after this. I think it's a great idea, and more road races in the UK, please. Okay, next up, second item. Yes, I said we would return to the new Kawasaki H2 SX SE, the touring supercharged bike. And that is because they actually, a couple of weeks after that initial article, they've announced the prices. And the original H2, the supercharged super duper bike, was, as I say, 25 grand, super expensive. So the expectation was the Tourer was going to be a similar sort of number, i.e. out of most people's reach. But actually, the basic bike is going to be 15 grand. Absolutely incredible. So it makes it still expensive, of course, but it does make it a bit more, doable for normal people. Still too expensive for me, but 15 grand for a supercharged Tourer. This could be, this could, I think, be the way that Tourers are going to go. This is going to be a great all-rounder. Loads of power, loads of lugging ability with big panniers. And if you're only going to have one bike, maybe I should flog my 4 bikes and buy one of these. Don't know, but need to have a ride on one. But starting at 15,099, 10 grand less than the Ninja H2, which was the original bike. Just great bit of pricing. So well done, Kawasaki, for getting that right. We'll see how sales go on that. Okay, and then last but not least for the articles this week is this, another electric bike. This is the Energica, not sure how you pronounce it, but I point this out just because it looks absolutely lovely. It's the best looking electric bike I've seen yet. It reminds me of the Street Triple, and it just looks lovely. And again, as I say, I'm going to be riding an electric bike soon, so not this one, sadly. So I'll get a feel for what I think about these things actually using them, but really looking forward to seeing more of this sort of stuff coming along. Well done, Energica, for, doesn't really trip off the tongue, that is it, for coming up with that. It looks absolutely fantastic, so thank you to them. All right, so that's it for my reviews of the MCN papers this month. As I say, I've missed one, but next month being December, they always do one less because they do like a bumper issue over Christmas. So I'll have more to do next month, if you see what I mean, when today's one trips through the letterbox. So you won't miss out. I will cover today's one in the next review. So that's it for the paper review. I did just want to give you a little bit of a sort of a heads up on what's coming up on my channel in the next month. I did this last month, and I had a few people say that they were glad that I'd done it. So just thought I'd tell you what I've got coming along. Don't forget the Del Boys Garage Q&A session. Go and have a look at that after this video, link below. It's well worth watching. Had great fun there. Lovely people to meet, and I was thrilled to go along, so check that one out. And then coming up in December on this channel, of course, I'm continuing my Friday tour series in the Canary Islands with Canary Motorcycle Tours. Had a great time out there a couple of weeks ago. We've got another 3 of those to go. Those go up on Fridays, so check those out for the next 3 Fridays. Of course, I've got lots of reviews coming up. In the can, I've already got the BMW G310 GS, which is the little baby GS that was announced a while back. That's in the can. Enjoyed riding that. That video is coming up on December the 12th, which is a Tuesday. Had a lot of people ask about that one, so just letting you know that one. Another one I've had a lot of people ask me about is when am I going to ride a Yamaha Super Tenere? Well, the good news is I've done that. I should be publishing that one on December the 18th. I rode the Super Tenere ZE, so stick around, stay tuned for that one. My latest long term, and I'll be putting some videos up through December, has been the Ducati Multistrada 950. the baby Multistrada. Done lots of videos on that. Really enjoyed having that in the garage. So check those videos out. Stick around and stay tuned for those if you like adventure bikes. I'm also going to be doing a detailed look at the 2018 Triumph Street Triple R. Now, I already did a long-term review on the RS, and I'm an owner of the R, and I was a little bit critical on the RS on a few points, but a lot of people said, well, what about the R? How's that going to compare to your older R? So I'm going to do a general review of the Street Triple R, the 2018 model, and I'm going to do a direct comparison of how it compares to the older bikes. I've got the 2012, so I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison. Stick around for those. Also, at the smaller end of the scale, I'll try and cover all sizes of bikes if I can. I've ridden the brand new Yamaha YS125, the new learner legal bike, so that's coming up as well. I've got some new series starting as well, a couple of ideas I've got that may well happen during December, so some exciting stuff coming along, and of course it is Christmas, so I'm going to be doing a Christmas video. I'm thinking about putting some outtakes together. I've had a few people ask if I've got some hilarious outtakes that I could include in a video. I'm not sure they're hilarious, one or two are quite funny, so I'm going to put those in together with some general sort of behind the scenes shots of some of the videos that I've done this year, so that's coming up around Christmas time. And then I'm also thinking about doing some live Q&A sessions, which is a little bit of a frightening thought, but I've got myself a new camera and I've got this new mic. I think I've got the technology pretty much sorted now, how I go about doing live broadcasts from this very desk. So might be doing that in December or January, got to work out what dates. But if you don't follow me on Facebook or Twitter, do check me out there, because I'm going to announce when I do those live sessions a day or two before on my Facebook and Twitter feeds. So look up the Mr. Flyer on Twitter and Facebook, follow me on there if you can. That way I'll let you know when the live sessions are coming up, and you can take part and see if I cock those up terribly. Okay, so that's it for this time. Gosh, rambled on a bit, sorry it's quite a long one again, but I hope you've enjoyed that. Look forward to speaking to you next time, and until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.